How's it going, history buffs and philosophy fanatics? Ever feel like life's throwing more curveballs than a pro pitcher on an energy drink? Like you're constantly trying to keep your head above water in a tsunami of to-do lists and existential dread? Yeah, we've all been there. But what if I told you that the answers to tackling this modern mayhem might just lie with a bunch of ancient, super disciplined dudes who rocked some serious abs and even more serious philosophical street cred? Today, we're diving headfirst into the fascinating, brutal, and surprisingly relatable world of the Spartans and their incredible connection to Stoicism. Forget everything you think you know about ancient history being dusty and boring. We're about to explore how a warrior society forged by iron and an ancient philosophy built on resilience somehow ended up being two sides of the same incredibly tough coin. Get ready to have your mind blown, your inner warrior awakened, and maybe even find a few practical tips to help you conquer your own daily battles. This isn't just history, it's a blueprint for a disciplined life, wrapped in epic tales of courage and a dash of philosophical wisdom. Let's do this. Spartan society and its values. All right, let's kick things off by stepping into the sandals of a Spartan citizen. And trust me, those sandals were probably made of the toughest leather imaginable, because everything about Spartan life was about being tough. We're talking about a society that was less live, laugh, love, and more train, fight, conquer. The Spartan ethos wasn't just a set of rules, it was the very air they breathed, a culture meticulously crafted around austerity, self-discipline, and unwavering courage. Imagine a society where comfort was a weakness, luxury was a sin, and complaining? Forget about it. From the moment a Spartan baby took its first breath, its life was pretty much predetermined by the state. This wasn't a place where you got to choose your own adventure. The adventure was chosen for you, and it involved a whole lot of grit. Their homes were deliberately simple, almost Spartan. Pun absolutely intended. No fancy cushions, no elaborate meals. It was all about stripping away the non-essentials to focus on what truly mattered: the strength of the individual, and, by extension, the strength of the state. This wasn't just about making good warriors, it was about cultivating a mindset that saw hardship as a teacher, not an enemy. They genuinely believed that comfort made you soft, and in their world, being soft was a death sentence. It's like their whole society was on a perpetual, extreme detox. And then there was the Agoge. Oh, the Agoge. If you thought your high school gym class was tough, buckle up, buttercup, because the Agoge was next level. A rigorous training system that molded Spartan youth into absolute, unyielding warriors. Boys were taken from their families at the tender age of 7. 7? Can you imagine? No more mom's home cooking, no more bedtime stories. Instead, it was communal barracks, meager rations, and a relentless regimen of physical training, tactical drills, and mental conditioning. They were taught to endure pain without flinching, to survive on very little, and to fight as one cohesive unit. They weren't just learning how to wield a spear, they were learning self-control, resilience, and an almost superhuman indifference to discomfort. Stealing was even encouraged, not because they wanted a bunch of mini-thieves running around, but because it taught them stealth, cunning, and how to survive when resources were scarce. The catch? If you got caught, the punishment wasn't for stealing, but for being caught. Talk about high stakes. This wasn't about making them rebels, it was about making them resourceful. And the discipline wasn't just physical. They were taught to speak concisely, famously known as laconic speech, after Laconia, the region where Sparta was located. No flowery language, no unnecessary chatter. Just the facts, delivered with brutal efficiency. It's like the ancient world's version of a Twitter character limit, but with much higher stakes. This encouraged clear thinking and direct communication. essential for the chaos of battle. Now, let's talk about the role of the state. For Spartans, it wasn't just a civic duty, it was a total commitment. Their lives, their identities, their very purpose revolved around serving the state and its collective goals. Individual ambition was secondary, if it existed at all. It was all about the collective, the us over the me. They were literally bred for war, trained for war, and expected to die for the state if necessary. Mothers famously told their sons to return with your shield or on it. No surrender, no retreat. That shield wasn't just a piece of equipment. It was a symbol of their commitment to their fellow warriors. Drop your shield, and you were not only exposing yourself, but also your comrade beside you. It was a betrayal of the highest order. This deep, almost spiritual connection to the collective was what made them such an incredibly formidable force. Every Spartan was a cog in a perfectly oiled war machine, and they embraced that role with a kind of fierce pride that's almost unfathomable today. They didn't have a standing army in the modern sense. Their entire society was the army. Every man was a soldier. Every woman was the mother of future soldiers. And every aspect of life was geared towards maintaining military superiority. This wasn't just a military, it was a way of life, a philosophy of existence built on the bedrock of duty, discipline, and an almost fanatical devotion to their city-state. It sounds intense, right? Almost unbelievably so. But it's this very intensity, this unwavering focus, that sets the stage for our next topic, and how these warrior values surprisingly echo through the halls of another ancient discipline. Stoicism, the philosophical underpinnings. So, you've just heard about the Spartans, tough as nails, disciplined to the core, and utterly devoted to their state. Now, you might be thinking, what does a bunch of ancient Greek philosophers have to do with these muscle-bound warriors? And that, my friends, is where our story gets really interesting. Because believe it or not, the principles that guided the Spartans' lives, though perhaps unarticulated in philosophical treatises, bear an uncanny resemblance to a school of thought that emerged a little later. Stoicism. Now, Stoicism isn't about being emotionless or apathetic, despite what some people might think. It's actually a dynamic, practical philosophy of virtue, reason, and resilience. It's about finding inner peace and strength in a chaotic world, focusing on what you can control and accepting with grace what you cannot. It's a mental toolkit for navigating the ups and downs of life, and it absolutely resonated with the Spartan way of living, even if they didn't have Marcus Aurelius on their nightstands. Let's break down some of the key Stoic principles. First up, accepting what is beyond your control. This is huge. Think about it. We spend so much time and energy worrying about things we literally have zero power over. The weather, what other people think, the economy, or even just yesterday's embarrassing social media post. Stoics would tell you, hey buddy, let that go. This isn't about resignation. It's about strategic allocation of your mental resources. Why waste precious energy on things that are already decided or are completely outside your sphere of influence? For a Spartan, this was a given. They couldn't control the size of the Persian army, or the terrain of a battlefield, or even whether they'd return from a campaign. But they could control their own training, their courage in the face of death, and their loyalty to their comrades. This ties directly into the next principle, focusing on what you can control. This is where the magic happens. Your effort, your attitude, your character, your reactions to external events. These are all firmly within your grasp. Imagine a Spartan warrior facing an overwhelming enemy force. He can't control the number of Persians, but he can control his grip on his spear, his position in the phalanx, his resolve not to break formation, and his courage to stand his ground. That's pure, unadulterated Stoicism in action. It's about channeling your energy, into the only place where it actually makes a difference: your own actions and your own mind. It's like having a superpower that lets you turn off the worry button and crank up the action knob. And finally, living in accordance with nature. This one might sound a bit abstract, but for the Stoics, it meant living rationally, in harmony with the natural order of things. It means recognizing that we are part of a larger, interconnected universe, and that our greatest good comes from acting virtuously and logically. For the Spartans, their nature was to be warriors, to serve their state, and to live a life of disciplined austerity. Their entire social structure was geared towards this natural order of their existence. They weren't fighting against their instincts. They were honing them for a higher purpose. Now let's talk about the influence of Stoic philosophers. While the Spartans predate the formal founding of Stoicism by a couple of centuries, the philosophical lineage is clear. Guys like Zeno of Citium, who founded Stoicism around 300 BC, built his philosophy on principles that would have made a Spartan nod in approval. Zeno taught in the Stoa Poikile, or painted porch, in Athens, hence the name Stoicism. His teachings emphasized living virtuously, understanding what is within and beyond our control, and cultivating a state of inner tranquility, known as ataraxia. Fast forward a few centuries, and you have guys like Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the most influential Stoic teachers. His discourses and Enchiridion are packed with practical advice on how to live a good life, largely by controlling your judgments and responses. Epictetus often used military analogies, speaking about life as a campaign and the importance of discipline, resilience, and facing challenges head-on. He'd say things like, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Sound familiar? It's practically the Spartan motto, but with more words. Another prominent Stoic was Seneca the Younger, a Roman statesman and philosopher. Seneca wrote extensively on managing emotions, dealing with loss, and preparing for adversity. He even advised Nero for a time, though that didn't end so well for Seneca. His letters are full of insights on how to build mental fortitude and face even the most trying circumstances with a calm mind. Imagine Seneca trying to teach a Spartan about managing anger. The Spartan would probably just grunt, flex, and then go spearfishing. But the core lesson, that inner control is paramount, would certainly resonate. And of course, the big one, the OG Stoic emperor, Marcus Aurelius. His meditations are essentially his private journal, filled with reflections on duty, mortality, and the fleeting nature of external things. He constantly reminds himself to be rational, to endure, to be just, and to live in harmony with the larger cosmos. He was an emperor, a commander, and he faced constant challenges, from wars to plagues to political intrigue. Yet, he strived for inner peace and an unwavering commitment to his principles. His writings are basically a guide to being an ultimate, disciplined badass, even when you're wearing a toga. The connection between Spartan values and Stoic principles isn't just a coincidence, it's a testament to the timeless nature of these ideas. Both paths, in their own ways, sought to cultivate inner strength, resilience, and a profound sense of purpose. Whether you were a Spartan training in the Agoge or a philosopher contemplating on a porch, the message was clear. Master yourself, embrace hardship, and live a life of unwavering principle. It's a powerful combination, and one that leads us perfectly into seeing these principles in action. Spartan warfare, discipline in action. All right, we've talked about the Spartan mindset and the Stoic philosophy that mirrors it so perfectly. Now, let's see this theory put into practice on the blood-soaked battlefields of ancient Greece. Because if there's one place where Spartan discipline truly shone, it was in the crucible of war. These guys weren't just tough, they were a living, breathing testament to what unwavering discipline and a Stoic approach to life and death could achieve. Let's start with the Spartan army itself. This wasn't just a collection of highly trained individuals, it was a single, terrifyingly efficient organism. They were renowned for their phalanx formation, a solid wall of shields and spears, each man an unyielding part of the whole. This wasn't just a tactical arrangement, it was a physical manifestation of their collective spirit and unwavering courage. To break rank in a phalanx was not just to put yourself at risk, but to create a gap, a vulnerability that could spell disaster for your comrades and the entire line. The pressure to hold your position, to stand firm, was immense. And Spartans, through their rigorous training and deep-seated commitment, rarely, if ever, broke. Imagine the sheer mental fortitude required. You're standing shoulder to shoulder with your brothers, shields interlocked, spears bristling forward. You hear the roar of the approaching enemy, the clash of metal, the cries of the wounded. Every fiber of your being might be screaming, "Run!" But your training, your discipline, and your understanding that your life is intertwined with the man next to you keeps you rooted. That's Stoicism in its purest form, acknowledging the fear, but choosing to act in accordance with your principles, your duty, and your training, rather than being ruled by emotion. They understood that fear was an external, and their response to it was entirely internal. And speaking of unwavering courage, let's talk about the big one, the epic, the legendary Battle of Thermopylae. If you know one thing about the Spartans, it's probably this story. In 480 BC, a small force of Greek hoplites, famously led by King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, made an iconic stand against the colossal Persian army of Xerxes. Now, colossal is an understatement here. We're talking about an army so vast that ancient historians claimed it literally drank rivers dry. While modern estimates are more conservative, it was still an overwhelming numerical superiority. The Spartans knew they were going to die. Let that sink in for a moment. They weren't going into battle hoping for a miracle escape. They were going to hold a narrow pass, the Hot Gates, to buy time for the rest of Greece to mobilize. This wasn't just courage, it was an extreme act of Stoic acceptance. They accepted their fate, understood what was beyond their control, the size of the Persian army, and focused entirely on what they could control: their duty, their fighting prowess, and their determination to inflict maximum damage before their inevitable end. Leonidas famously told his men to come and get them when Xerxes demanded they lay down their weapons. This wasn't bravado, it was a declaration of unyielding resolve. They fought for 3 days, inflicting staggering casualties on the Persians, forcing them into a meat grinder in the narrow pass where numbers meant nothing against the disciplined, impenetrable Spartan phalanx. When they were finally outflanked by a traitor's path, they didn't flee. They fought to the last man, dying with their spears in hand, becoming a timeless symbol of Spartan resilience and courage. Every single one of those 300 chose their reaction to their imminent death, and they chose to go down fighting for their ideals. That's the Stoic mindset in its most dramatic, awe-inspiring manifestation. But Thermopylae wasn't an isolated incident. The Spartans' unwavering discipline and tactical brilliance were also on full display during the Peloponnesian War, a long and brutal conflict that pitted Athens against Sparta for dominance of the Greek world. This wasn't a quick, decisive battle. It was a grueling, decades-long grind, a true test of endurance and resolve. Think of the sheer Stoic patience required for such a protracted war. There were periods of stalemate, devastating plagues like the one that ravaged Athens, shifting alliances, and endless cycles of siege and counter-siege. For Sparta, whose military prowess was their defining characteristic, maintaining morale and discipline over such an extended period was monumental. Their training prepared them for the long haul, for enduring hardship not just in a single battle, but over an entire lifetime of conflict. Their tactical brilliance wasn't just about brute force. It was about strategic thinking, adaptability, and unwavering commitment to their objectives, even when things looked bleak. They understood the long game. They practiced self-control not just in their personal lives, but in their military campaigns, avoiding reckless actions and prioritizing strategic gains over fleeting victories. They knew when to strike and when to bide their time, all while maintaining that iron discipline that was their hallmark. The Spartans were living proof that discipline isn't just about following rules. It's about internalizing a code, a philosophy that guides every action, every decision, even in the most terrifying circumstances. They were the ultimate practitioners of Stoic principles, not because they read Epictetus, but because their entire society was built upon the very foundations of self-control, resilience, and an unwavering focus on what they could control in the face of an uncertain world. Their legacy on the battlefield isn't just about military might. It's a powerful lesson in human fortitude and the incredible strength that comes from a disciplined mind. Applying Stoic principles today. Okay, so we've traveled back in time, hung out with some seriously ripped ancient warriors, and explored how their lives eerily mirrored Stoic philosophy. You might be thinking, that's cool, but I'm not fighting Persians in a hot pass. How does any of this apply to my life, with my overflowing inbox, my crazy commute, and my endless list of adulting responsibilities? And that, my friends, is the beauty of Stoicism. It's not just for ancient philosophers or Spartan warriors. It's a timeless, practical philosophy that offers a profound toolkit for navigating the complexities of the modern world. In a world that often feels chaotic, overwhelming, and utterly beyond our control, Stoicism steps in like a wise, calm, ancient personal trainer for your mind. Let's dive into how we can take a page from the Spartans and the Stoics to level up our own lives. First up, overcoming adversity. Life, as we all know, is a wild ride. We face setbacks, disappointments, failures, and sometimes just plain rotten luck. It's easy to get knocked down and stay down, to wallow in self-pity or lash out in frustration. But Stoicism's teachings can empower us to face life's challenges with strength and resilience. Remember that core Stoic principle. Focus on what you can control and accept what you cannot. When adversity strikes, our first instinct is often to panic, to blame, or to catastrophize. A Stoic approach would encourage you to pause. What part of this situation is truly within your power to change? Is it the job loss itself? No, that's already happened. But what about your response to it? Your decision to update your resume, to network, to learn a new skill, to maintain a positive attitude in the face of rejection? Those are within your control. Think of it like being a Spartan on the battlefield. They couldn't control the enemy's numbers, but they could control their own formation, their own courage. In your modern battlefield, you can't control every external factor, but you can control your effort, your perspective, and your persistence. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about acknowledging the emotion, processing it, and then choosing a rational, productive response. It's about building mental armor, so when the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune come your way, you don't just crumple. You stand firm, assess the situation, and then act with purpose. It's basically training your brain to be a Spartan. Next up, maintaining focus. In our hyper-connected, notification-bombarded world, maintaining focus feels like an Olympic sport. We're constantly pulled in a million directions, bombarded by distractions, and urged to multitask until our brains feel like scrambled eggs. Stoic principles encourage us to prioritize our goals and focus on what truly matters. The Spartans were masters of focus. Their entire society was geared towards one thing: military excellence and the defense of the state. They stripped away all distractions, all luxuries, anything that didn't contribute to that core purpose. Now, I'm not saying you need to sell all your possessions and live in a barracks, unless you're into that. No judgment. But you can apply that same ruthless prioritization to your own life. What are your most important goals? Your career? Your relationships? Your health? A personal project? Stoicism would tell you to identify those vital few things, and then ruthlessly protect your time and energy from the trivial many. This means saying no to distractions, limiting your screen time, intentionally scheduling periods of deep work, and regularly reviewing whether your actions align with your values. It's about being present and intentional. When you're at work, be at work. When you're with your family, be with your family. It's about being where your feet are, as they say, and giving your full attention to the task at hand. Just imagine a Spartan trying to scroll through TikTok during a battle. Exactly. Total focus, all the time. And finally, living with purpose. This is the big one, the grand prize of applying Stoic principles. In a world that often feels meaningless or driven by external validation, Stoicism can guide us in finding meaning and purpose in our lives, independent of fleeting pleasures or external accolades. The Spartans had a clear, unwavering purpose, service to their state. It gave their lives structure, meaning, and a reason to endure extraordinary hardship. For us, it's about identifying our own values, our own personal mission, and then striving to live in alignment with them every single day. Stoicism encourages us to cultivate virtues like wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. It's not about accumulating wealth or chasing fame. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, a person of integrity and character. Think about Marcus Aurelius. He was an emperor, had all the power and riches imaginable, yet he constantly reminded himself to be humble, to be just, and to fulfill his duties. He found purpose in serving the Roman people and in living by his philosophical principles. He wasn't seeking happiness in external things, but in internal virtue. So, how do you find your purpose? It starts with reflection. What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of impact do you want to have on the world, however small? How can you use your unique talents and abilities to contribute to something larger than yourself? Once you identify that purpose, Stoicism provides the framework to pursue it, with unwavering commitment, to weather the inevitable storms, and to find fulfillment not in the outcome, but in the journey itself, and in the virtuous effort you put in. Applying these principles isn't about becoming a joyless robot. It's about cultivating inner freedom, resilience, and a profound sense of peace. It's about taking control of your inner world, so that no matter what chaos swirls around you, you remain anchored, focused, and purposeful. It's about becoming your own inner Spartan, wielding the shield of wisdom and the spear of disciplined action against the endless onslaught of modern life. Conclusion: a timeless legacy. So, here we are, at the end of our journey through the rugged mountains of Sparta and the intellectual landscapes of Stoicism. We've seen how a society built on iron discipline and unwavering courage found an echo, almost a philosophical twin, in a school of thought that championed virtue, reason, and resilience. The enduring legacy of Spartan discipline isn't just a fascinating footnote in history. It's a powerful testament to the incredible potential of self-control and perseverance. The Spartans proved that by ruthlessly eliminating distractions, by embracing hardship as a teacher, and by committing fully to a higher purpose, humans can achieve astonishing feats of strength, both physical and mental. They showed us that true freedom comes not from limitless external choices, but from mastering your own inner world. They didn't just talk the talk, they walked the walk, all the way to Thermopylae and beyond. Their lives were a living philosophy, a demonstration of what it truly means to live with purpose and an unyielding will. And the relevance of Stoicism in the modern world? Well, I hope by now it's crystal clear. In our complex, ever-changing, and often overwhelming world, Stoicism offers an anchor. It gives us a framework for finding strength and resilience when things get tough. It teaches us to discern between what we can control and what we can't, freeing us from the endless cycle of worry and frustration. It encourages us to cultivate our character, to act with integrity, and to pursue a life of meaning and virtue, independent of external circumstances. It's like having an ancient cheat code for modern living, helping you stay calm, cool, and collected when everything else feels like it's going sideways. It's not about avoiding problems, but about having the mental chops to deal with them head on, like a true warrior. Ultimately, both the Spartans and the Stoics, in their own unique ways, point us towards a path of living a life of virtue and courage. They invite us to introspect, to understand our own inner workings, and to consciously choose how we respond to the world around us. They urge us to draw inspiration from their commitment to principles, to cultivate our own inner strength, and to face life's challenges not with fear, but with a calm, rational, and courageous spirit. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember the Spartan standing firm in the phalanx. Remember the Stoic philosopher calmly observing the chaos. Remember that you too possess an incredible capacity for discipline, resilience, and purpose. It's not about being emotionless, but about being master of your emotions. It's not about avoiding pain, but about enduring it with grace. It's about focusing your energy on what truly matters and living a life that reflects your highest values. You don't need a shield and spear to embody these principles. You just need a willing mind, a commitment to self-mastery, and the courage to face your own internal and external battles. That's all for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the Spartan and Stoic connection. If you found this video insightful, empowering, or just plain fascinating, please do us a massive favor. Smash that like button, leave a comment below with your favorite takeaway or a challenge you're using Stoicism to overcome, and subscribe to the channel for more awesome content like this. Your support helps us keep these epic stories and powerful ideas coming. Until next time, stay strong, stay stoic, and keep conquering those daily battles.